Hello, I'm Mrs. Jansen, and today in our art, we'll be creating an aquarium in one-point perspective. Our first vocabulary word is horizon line. This is the line at which the sky meets land or water. It is the actual height of the viewer's eye, or eye level. Next is one-point perspective, a way to show three-dimensional objects on a two-dimensional surface. Our last vocabulary word today is vanishing point. This is the appearance of a point on the horizon line where lines appear to meet. Objects look smaller as they get closer to the vanishing point. Let's look at this image together. First, you'll notice the horizon line in this situation is where the sky meets the land. Now let's look at the diagonal lines, which are actually the sides of a railroad track. Notice how they meet at the vanishing point on the horizon line. Let's look at the telephone poles. And notice how the telephone poles appear taller and wider closest to you, the viewer. And as they get closest to the vanishing point, notice how small they are. They're shorter and narrower. I'd also like you to notice how the space in between the poles changes. It becomes smaller. If you were to visit an aquarium, what sea creatures would you like to see? So today we're going to draw an aquarium together in one-point perspective, and when we're finished, you're going to be able to add any sea creature that you would like. Here's some examples for idea starters. And here's an example of what your art might look like when you're finished. You'll see my screen change so that we can draw together. Please have a paper, pencil, ruler, or something straight that you can draw with. The edge of a notebook or a cereal box would work also, and crayons for later. At any time we're drawing today, you can always pause or rewind the video. So let's place our paper landscape style. That's horizontal or sideways. And the first thing you're going to do is bring the bottom of the paper up to the top and match the corners. And this roll at the bottom now, you're going to press firmly with your fingers to create a fold all the way across the paper. When you open it up, this fold is going to be our horizon line. Remember, that's the line at which the land or water meets the sky. We're going to draw an interior space inside an aquarium, so it would be the viewer's eye level, and that will be at the horizon line. Next, let's take the right side of the paper and bring it over to the left. Match the corners again, and at that roll, press your finger firmly from the top to the bottom to create a vertical line. So these folds on our paper today are really guidelines, and guidelines help artists know where to place things. The first thing we need to know where to place is the vanishing point, that small point on the horizon line where the lines appear to meet. Now, let's use your ruler or straight edge of a box or a book and place the ruler at the bottom right-hand corner in the center, and then even with the vanishing point, and then press firmly so your ruler where edge doesn't slide around, and draw a diagonal line from that vanishing point to the corner of your paper. And now let's go to this side. We're going to place that straight edge at the center of the corner and the other side at the vanishing point, and press firmly so it doesn't slide around and draw a diagonal line. And now we're going to go to the top right of the paper and place the ruler at that center corner and line it up with the vanishing point and draw another diagonal line from that top right corner to the vanishing point. And now let's go to the top left corner. Place the ruler at the center of the corner of your paper, even with the vanishing point, and add the last diagonal line that creates an X. Right, so we've got this X, and then we know that this horizontal line is the horizon line. It would be the viewer's eye level, and we don't need to draw on that line, and we also don't need to draw on the vertical line. We use both of those as guidelines so that we know where to place things in our art. So now we're going to draw the aquarium. First, we're going to draw the floor. So place your straight edge along the bottom of the paper and then slide it up, keeping your edge straight. Add a horizontal line that goes in between the two diagonal lines. And now we're going to place our straight edge or ruler on the line we just drew, slide it up, and then we need to remember that the space in between gets smaller as it gets closer to the vanishing point. So draw your second horizontal line in between the two diagonal lines. Remember, we're creating that illusion of three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional surface. Let's slide the ruler up again, and I think it always helps to place it on the line you just drew. Make sure the space is smaller and draw another horizontal line. And we're going to continue to do this, but making sure every time we draw a horizontal line, the space is smaller than the space we drew before. And we're going to continue to the vanishing point. And everyone's art is going to look different, and we're creating the tile floor, and we know a lot of tile floors look different. All right, so now we've got all the horizontal lines drawn for the tile floor, but now we need to add the diagonal lines. So we're going to place our ruler at that vanishing point, and we're also going to place it at the bottom of the X on the diagonal line at the bottom right, and we want to press firmly on our ruler and just slide the bottom of it. And we're going to look at this space. Remember, it has to stay even with the vanishing point. And we're going to look at this space. This is the width of the tile, and we're going to draw from the vanishing point to the bottom of the paper. And I think it works best to draw on one side and then the other. So now we're going to go to this side. We're going to place the ruler at the bottom, diagonal line on the left. We're going to keep it at that vanishing point. We're going to slide it over. And here what we're doing is guesstimating. We're guessing with our eyes what the width of that tile would be on the left, and we're comparing it to the width of the tile on the right. So draw from the vanishing point to the bottom of the paper for that diagonal line on the left. And now we're going to go to the line we drew on the right. Make sure your ruler's even with the vanishing point. We're going to slide it over, and we're going to decide the width of that tile. Draw from the vanishing point to the bottom. And now let's return to the left side. Place your ruler on the diagonal line on the left that you drew last, and slide it over at the bottom. Make sure it stays at that vanishing point. And now you're going to decide how width that tile is, how wide it is. Draw from the vanishing point to the bottom of the paper. So now we're looking at this space, and every space on everyone's artwork can look different. So you get to decide how you finish this space. You can either add 2 more diagonal lines, or someone that has a smaller space might add a vertical line down the center. It's up to you. You're going to see me add 2 diagonal lines. So I'm going to return to the diagonal line on the right. I'm going to have my ruler even with that vanishing point, and I'm going to slide my ruler over to the left before I draw that diagonal line. And now I'm going to go to the left side. I'm going to place my ruler at the vanishing point, and on that last diagonal line I drew on the left, and I'm going to slide my ruler to the right. And again, I'm going to guesstimate. I'm going to look at the diagonal line I just drew and draw another diagonal line that creates a tile about the same width. And it's okay if they're not exactly the same. So here we've got the floor in our aquarium, and notice how the lines converge or meet, come together at that vanishing point. Now we're going to draw the windows on the side, and there's some rules in 1-point perspective, and we need to make sure that any vertical line we draw is parallel to the edge of the paper. So first we're going to line up our ruler with the edge of the paper. And we're going to draw a vertical line in between the 2 diagonal lines for the X. So we're going to imagine that this is the width of the first window, but we don't see the whole thing. So we only see one part of it. And then here we're going to go to the other side. We're going to place our ruler even with the edge of the paper. And we're going to draw a vertical line in between these 2 diagonal lines on the left-hand side. And every time we draw today, we're going to move from right to left, and we're going to use our eyes to estimate the space. The next thing we're going to do is return to that straight vertical line we drew on the right, and slide our ruler over. And I'm going to draw another straight vertical line, and this is going to be the space in between the windows. And now I'm going to go to the left side and do the same thing. So I return the ruler to the line I just drew, and I'm going to slide it over and add another vertical line in between those diagonal lines. So I need to remember that the windows will appear narrower as they get closest to the vanishing point. So we've got just one side of this window showing, then we have the space in between, and now we're going to create the width of the second window on the right. I'm going to return my ruler to the straight vertical line I drew, and then I'm going to slide it over. And now I'm going to add a straight vertical line. And then I'm going to slide it over and add a second straight vertical line. So I've got the second window drawn, and now I have the space in between the second window and what will be the third window. But I'm going to go now to the left-hand side. I'm going to return to that straight vertical line I drew on the left. I'm going to slide it over, and I'm going to guesstimate or estimate with my eyes, and it's okay if it's not exactly the same, but I'm going to estimate the width that I drew on this side. I can also measure. So I know that it's about 1 1/4, so that's something that you could also do. You could always measure the distance at 1 1/4 and mark it. But today we don't have to measure all the lines, we can estimate. So return it to the line you drew on the left, slide it over, and draw another vertical line. So we've got the width of the second window, and now we slide it over again, and we're going to draw that space in between the second window and the edge of the third window. So let's go to the right, return it to that straight vertical line we just drew, and slide it over, and draw a vertical line, which is the left edge of the third window on the right hand side. Then we slide it over and we draw another vertical line. And this is the space in between the windows and the edge of the fourth window on the right. So let's go back to the left. Place your ruler on the line you just drew. Slide it over and compare the width of the window on the right before you decide where to draw your vertical line. And again, it's okay if it's not exactly the same. And then slide your ruler over and add a second vertical line for the space in between the windows. Now we're going to go back to the right side. Slide your ruler over and add a vertical line. And slide it over again and add a second vertical line. Now we're going to go to this side, the left side, and then you're going to see that as I slid my ruler, I think my line could have been straighter, so I'm not going to erase. What I'm going to do is go back to that line and draw a second one. And I'm going to do the same here. Go back to that line and draw a second one, and that way I can make it straighter. And I slide my ruler over, and I decide where I'm going to place this vertical line, the width of the window. And then I add a second vertical line a little bit farther away. So notice how the windows are getting closer together and smaller as they get closer to the vanishing point. So now I'm going to look at this vanishing point, and rather than start at the outside, I'm actually going to look at the point and slide my ruler over to the left and create a vertical line. This would be the last window, and then I'm going to slide my ruler over again and add another vertical line for the edge of that last window. And you're going to look at your own artwork and decide where you want to place the windows. Everybody's space will look different. Some artists in our group might have larger windows, so you have fewer vertical lines. And other artists in our group will have more windows. So it's okay if everyone's looks different. Now what I'm going to do is look at this vanishing point and look at that space and add a vertical line. And I'm going to be comparing the space on the left as I draw. Then I'm going to slide it over, and I'm going to add 2 more vertical lines. Right, so now we've got all the windows drawn, and it's time for us to draw the curved lines for the glass ceiling. So this can be challenging. What we're going to remember is we're sketching. The lines do not have to match the windows, so they do not have to meet with every line at the windows. And as you draw your curved line, instead of pressing your line into your paper and drawing a solid line, think about lightly sketching. So keep your pencil a little bit above your paper and place it down again as you draw. Now, there's different ways to go about drawing these curved lines, and the way an artist does things is called a technique. So you definitely could look at your paper and draw the lines like this and continue. I think another way that's less challenging is turning your paper in this direction, so more vertical, and then adding the curved lines. And you'll see, I think it's less challenging this way for me. You have to decide what works best for you. So this way I'm drawing what looks more like a stretched out backwards C. And take your time. And remember, it's more of a sketch, so it doesn't have to be one continuous line. You can pick up your pencil. And you're going to notice these lines will go off the page. So you don't have to keep them all the way on the page. And here you've got your aquarium drawn. You've got the tile floor, which you can color any color you'd like. When you're selecting colors for your tile floor, think about the sea creatures, and whatever colors you choose for the tile floor should not stand out more than the sea creatures. And as you're drawing your sea creatures, remember that this is all glass. So say you have a really large sea creature like a whale. You can see it through several windows. So don't feel like you have to fit only small sea creatures in between the windows. And fish swim in different directions. So you can have a fish swimming downwards or upwards. You can have fish swimming above the ceiling. So let's go back to our presentation. And this shows those student examples. And notice how you can see fish swimming at the top, and then also different sea creatures at the bottom. This student artist decided to add some seaweed, and you can draw groups of fish together. Here we see a group of jellyfish. So we're going to leave this recording at the images of the sea creatures. And these are idea starters, but this is your aquarium, and you get to decide what sea creatures are in your aquarium. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this. And when you're finished, you can add color to your sea creatures, the tile floor, and the water as you wish. So it was great to make art with you today. I hope you enjoyed drawing an aquarium in one-point perspective. And I hope you enjoy using your creativity as you add sea creatures to your aquarium. I look forward to making art with you again.